I really like it. Actually, it's just a nice way to come into these.
It
shows.
is.
It's,
I'd
look
say
at you,
I'd say
Marcus.
I'd say I'd make it my ringtone, but nobody uses ringtones. Like I never have my ringtone on, so it'd be sort of useless.
Remember that when people like make their own ringtones, and that would be you put a different one for different people. I think you
Yeah.
can still do those things, but I'm not going through that.
I mean, people used to pay
have it
actual
go through.
American money to download ringtones. You know,
It would be songs that you wanted to hear would be
right.
your ringtone. Yeah. Like Boots with the Fur would be people's ringtones.
Oh man.
So what's going on, Marcus? You look at you. You're in a new room at NFL Network.
I am in
background.
I am in our fabulous podcast studio, which is really, really large. And honestly, it's very comfortable in here. This, as long as nobody's actually recording in here during the morning, this actually might be my new home for the remainder of the baseball season.
I like it. It's a nice little space. I like. You can tell you're in a studio. I like it. Yeah, keep it up. By the way, the Blue Review, as always, brought to you by LAX, and we love LAX. At Los Angeles International Airport, changes are arriving daily to reduce traffic, save guest time, and transform the travel experience. If you want some information, go to flylax.com/transforminglax. All right, Marcus, we got to get into it. That was a frustrating game for me last night. I thought they had plenty of chances to win the game. I can't go without saying that was a awful strike zone by the umpire back there. I didn't look at who it was, but he was just allowing every single wide strike against the Dodgers. I didn't really see it too much against the Orioles, but I maybe wasn't paying enough attention. But I don't think that's the reason that they lost. But either way, it was a frustrating loss, and it was Flaherty. You want to start with Flaherty, or just want to talk about the loss?
Well, let's start with Flaherty, right? Because I think all things considered, it was a good start for him. He gets you through 6. He gives up only 3 runs. I mean, he certainly put them in position to win. And that's really all you want out of your starting pitching right now. Try to give you a little bit of length. And just, when they leave, when they turn the baseball over, make sure that you were in a spot to win. And Flaherty did all of those things last night. So I think in that respect, it's hard to really be disappointed in his performance. It was just frustrating, as you mentioned, that the offense could not find a way to generate anything. And even though, as you mentioned, they had chances, especially at the end, 8th inning, 9th inning, they had guys on base, just couldn't quite get it done. The Will Smith at bat was, I think, supremely frustrating.
Oh, so frustrating.
He gets rung up on 3 pitches that were off the plate away. And, Smith is not a guy who's very demonstrative at home plate, but his reaction after he got called out on strike 3 sort of said it all last night.
Yeah, I mean, every single pitch that was thrown to him was off the plate. It was just so hard to watch. But either way, yeah. So, but with Flaherty, though, I did think he pitched well. He was, for the most part, it was a quality start, and that's all you can really ask for is a quality start. 3 runs. They had all those opportunities to win the game, but there were things that are starting to, we were talking about yesterday coming into his start that are concerning. He gave up 2 home runs again. He walked 2 guys again. So those are things that he did get through 6 innings. It was very, very scary when he got hit on the wrist because, look, dude, every single Dodger has to get hit on the wrist apparently, and that's what that is just going to be the thing that goes on now. But that was something that was just a little bit concerning. They still should have won the game. And Flaherty did what he's supposed. At least he got through 6, 3 runs, quality start, all of that. I don't like the home runs. I don't like the walks, but that's something that you can hopefully tighten up just a little bit. The problem that I have with it is that I really, really wanted them to win this game, the first game. Start the series off with the Orioles on the right foot, because having Walker Buehler tonight is a whole. It's a tough situation to be in, especially against Corbin Burns, who is one of the better pitchers in the game, period, not just in the American League. He is one of the best pitchers in the game. So I'm just a little bit worried about losing this series now.
No, I'm 100% with you. Like, this felt like the one that they sort of needed to get, because as you mentioned, we don't know what we're going to see out of Buehler. The recent returns have not been positive about Walker Buehler, so definitely a little bit concerned. And then I think tomorrow is still TBD for the Dodgers. So I don't know.
Tomorrow it's supposed to be. I would assume it's Stone, because Stone pitched on Friday, so his regular turn would be Thursday, but also they could give him an extra day and bring up somebody like Robleski. Landon Knack is pitching piggyback with Yamamoto tonight, so he won't be that. So I don't know if he is Bueller. I see Bobby Miller
Yeah, I
on
think it's Miller. I know right now I'm just checking, I was checking Dodgers.com, a couple other places. It still has TBD, so maybe it's Miller, maybe it's Stone. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
it looks like Miller. Yeah, Stone would actually be further down.
So
Yeah.
in that case, it did feel a little bit more imperative that they win last night, because you can't have a lot of confidence in Walker Buehler with what we've seen recently. Bobby Miller's last start was very good, but it was one out of a string of really bad starts. So how confident can you feel about that? Now the goal is to somehow try and win these next two games. Make sure you get a win in the series. It did feel a little bit like a missed opportunity last night, Greg, with the Diamondbacks losing, getting thumped by the Mets. The Padres were able to kind of hang on and beat the Cardinals a little bit, but it just felt like a really big missed chance all the way around yesterday.
Yeah, it really did. It would have been nice to get that win, especially with the Diamondbacks finally losing a game. But they're gonna have a tough time. They're gonna start getting into a tough part of the schedule, as you're talking about before the show started. We can get into that in just a second, but we could be. This is now a moment when we were talked about all this yesterday too. Is that you have these 7 games, including yesterday, could very well flip the entire NL West. It's a situation where, like, losing that first one, if you lose tonight, if Bobby Miller is not the same Bobby Miller he was in his last start, there's a lot of things that can go on. Like, this actually feels playoff atmosphere like to me, and seeing every pitch, every at bat was very, very intense. And I actually really liked how the bullpen looked against a tough team in the Orioles. I don't understand why they brought Kopech in for 8, 9, and 1 in the 9th inning, down 3-2. I felt like you wasted him in that situation, but he got through it. It's just, I don't understand what's happening. And also, it's just, I don't get it. Some of the things that they're doing, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was sort of trying to manage along in my head, right? Like, okay, you bring in Kopech here. Obviously, you're hoping that you win it in the bottom of the 9th, but in case they tie, then what do you do? Like, who's next up? Do you go back
Phillips.
to Vesia? Do you go back to Phillips? Like, who is the next person up in the event that you go to the 10th inning? I was also thinking that, look, they brought in Kiermaier as a pinch runner rather for Miguel Rojas. I'm thinking, okay, well, you can take Edman at that point, move him from center field to short, put Kiermaier in at center field. So I was just sort of trying to get into Dave Roberts' head a little bit and figure out how things were going to go. In the end, I guess it didn't really matter because they couldn't score that tying run. But yeah, at this point, I think we're all sort of trying to kind of play 3-dimensional chess with this thing.
Yeah, but it's at the same time, they're having issues with Kopech because on back-to-back nights, he's starting to lose a little bit of velocity. So they gave him the entire series off last week, and they don't want to use him 3 out of 4 days. They want to like cut down on him. So why use him in a space where you're losing the game? I understand wanting to keep it close. That totally makes sense to me. But these are situations that you can save him for a game or maybe you do come back in the bottom of the 9th and he pitches in the 10th or something along those lines. I just felt like he should be, it's always going to bring me back to, is he the closer? Is he not? Is he a situational guy? Is he just there for the right batters? Because it was 8-9-1. Again, it wasn't 3-4-5. Again, this is the second time in a row that he's pitched that it wasn't against the top, the big parts of the lineup. So I'm just, it's hard for me, Marcus. I don't know how it is for you, but it's just hard for me. I want roles. I feel like pitchers need roles.
No, I mean, that's how I feel. I know we're sort of in agreement there. I mean, I will say, and obviously just based on the quotes that we are privy to, that we're able to read, it seems like Roberts has gotten everybody to buy into this, be ready at all times, right? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready sort of mentality.
Right.
I know Kopech has said, look, I'm here to do whatever. He's like, I've pitched in every single role you can imagine. I'm just here to help out. And it's a great attitude to have. But I do think there's something to knowing, like, hey, look, I'm the 7th inning guy, or I'm the 8th inning guy, or hey, look, as you mentioned, the fireman role, right? Like, we got to stop this rally from happening. So I know I got to be ready, as opposed to just, hey, it's the 6th. We might need you now. Or it's the bottom of the 8th, or it's the top of the 8th. We might need you then too. Like, I just feel like those situations are all vastly different from one another. I think they all take a different mindset. I think it's just hard to sort of switch from one to the other on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, and we're going to have to live with it because that's what it is. But, as we're sitting here talking about it every single day, we have to, bring up what we think is concerning or how we actually truly feel. But either way, so tonight, it's going to be Bueller. We've talked a ton about Bueller, and now he's facing a Orioles lineup that is really, really good all the way top
Mhm.
to bottom. Urias hit the home run in the bottom, the winning home run. He was the ninth hitter last night. They can
Yeah.
hit home runs from 1 to 9, so it's going to be a very, very tough outing for him. What are you kind of expecting from him, and do you have faith that he can be good today?
Um, I, I want to, like, my heart. I want to have faith, right? My head is in a different place right now because I mean we've just seen. I think the thing with Bueller lately has been when one bad thing happens, it just seems to tend to spiral out of control, right? I mean, it was the last start. He got the first two outs on three pitches.
Yeah,
27 pitches later, he's out of the inning,
right.
whatever it is, right? And so I think it's one, yes, if you can keep down the walks and minimize the mistakes, but when they happen, and they are going to happen, uh trying to not compound that a little bit. I on some levels wonder if the pressure is a little much because I credit Bueller with sort of understanding his situation and his place in the universe right now, and he understands that free agency is coming, and he really is pitching certainly for a short-term contract, but maybe for his baseball life at this point. And so I wonder how much of that is sort of in his head when he goes out there and suddenly, you get a couple of guys on base and then that turns into a 2-run double and what have you. Hopefully he can sort of put that aside and maybe rise to the moment a little bit. But, I'm hoping for the best, but I'm kind of in my head expecting the worst.
Yeah, you know how I feel about it, but overall, it does seem like it's completely mental, like you're saying. It sounds like this is something that's a lot of it is in his head because, I mean, the stuff was kind of there. His velocity was up. He was throwing certain pitches. Like he wasn't able. There were some pitches he just wasn't able to really get off. Like the curve was just completely all over the place. But for the most part, the stuff was pretty much there. He just doesn't have that out pitch anymore. He doesn't have that. He would get to two strikes on guys, and he just doesn't have. He get hit, and then that's when it all starts to go to hell. Like it just is a situation where there's something going on with him that he doesn't know what he wants to throw to get guys out. He doesn't know. He doesn't have the swing and miss stuff as much as he used to. He's just not the same guy, and it might be a mental thing, and it could be from what you're talking about. He knows that he has to pitch well to stay on this team, to get a contract, whether from the Dodgers or somebody else in the offseason. This one feels like a really, really big start because, I mean,
Yeah.
we've been calling, you and I, or at least me, I've been calling for him to no longer be starting for this team. It is out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But um, this could be the last start he makes this year. It very well could be because Yamamoto is having his rehab assignment. And I don't know if we talked about it or not yesterday, but this, if he may only need one rehab start, just because you typically, for the most of the season, have 2, 3 rehab starts. You're in September now. When he comes back, it is going to be September, and he needs to see if you can get major league hitters out, not minor league hitters out. So one
Yeah.
rehab assignment. If he looks good today and goes and throws 75, 80 pitches, he could come back up much sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dodgers are sort of hoping that, and like we know sort of how they operate, right? They have been very cautious with him from the beginning. Although, again, this was another file this under Doc Roberts, right? I mean, it was like, hey, this is not going to be a big deal. We hope he's just going to be a minimum stay on the IL, and here we are, 2-3 months later, and we're hoping that he's back and ready to go. So it does seem like they really want to get him back in as quickly as possible. I mean, I think for the team, for the pitchers involved, you want to start solidifying that rotation, right? And so that means getting Yamamoto back as quickly as possible, getting him major league starts. It's getting Glasnow back whenever he's ready, getting him back in that number one spot in the rotation. And maybe that takes some pressure off of a guy like Flaherty. Maybe it allows Gavin Stone to get a little bit more comfortable knowing that you don't have that burden on your shoulders of being the stopper. Maybe it allows these guys to be a little bit more free on the mound. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's will be very nice to have him back in the rotation. and that's also Glasnow. We don't even know what's going on with Glasnow. He's going very, very slow. Then Doc said yesterday that he has to have a rehab start. So if that's the case, and he's not even really throwing right now, it's kind of a worry that he might not even be back. I feel like he will be, but that again, these things all change things, and where you're with no Glasnow, Buehler's going to have to get more starts, or Miller's going to have to get more starts. It's a very precarious time right now, and like we said before, these next few games just really feel very, very big. Now, Lucky, you were looking down schedules before the episode started.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get past Arizona, the Dodgers start to kind of slow down and having a little bit of an easier schedule, whereas the Diamondbacks and Padres kind of lift their schedule and they're starting to have a harder schedule. Is that right?
Yeah, especially the Diamondbacks for sure. I mean, they've got three more or two more, I should say, against the Mets. Which look, the Mets have a lot to fight for, right? They're 3 games out of the final wild card spot, so they're certainly very competitive. They certainly have a reason to really go hard. It was nice, for our purpose, just to see them get a win last night. Then they've got obviously the 4 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Giants. I mean, for what it's worth, the Giants will put up a fight. Yep. Especially in the division. 3 on the road in Houston against the Astros.
Tough.
Couple against the Rangers, which who knows. But then 3 against.
Those Ranger ones, are they in?
They're in Arizona.
Texas.
No, they're in Arizona. Yeah. And then 3 at home against the Brewers. But again, the Brewers, division leader, very much a playoff team as well. The fact they've got 4 in Milwaukee coming up in mid-September, and then they finish out at home against the Giants and the Padres. So, there are some speed bumps in the road for the Diamondbacks coming up over the next month.
Which is nice because they've been as hot as the hottest team in baseball since I saw it. I think June 26th. It's the Diamondbacks are the hottest team in baseball. The Padres are the second hottest team in baseball. And you said you had the Padres too. The Padres have a tough schedule also, don't they?
They've got some interesting ones. I mean, they finish up against the Cardinals 2 more games. They're at Tampa. We'll see.
Tough. Well, Tampa swept the Diamondbacks before we took 2-3 from this. So
that's true. So then there's they're home against Detroit, home against the Giants. Then they go on the road to Seattle and San Francisco. They've got the Astros coming to San Diego in mid-September. They get the White Sox, which okay, sure.
Yeah, well, that's
and then they finish. Then they finish on the road, 3 in LA against the Dodgers, 3 in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. That last weekend, I think, can be critical though, because the Dodgers have the Rockies in LA, while the Padres are in Arizona, and ideally those 2 teams beat up on each other, while the Dodgers can hopefully sweep that series and kind of get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, so we're making a big deal about what's going on, and it is a big deal, these next 7 games, and before you get to the 2 games against the Angels. But it could come down to that last weekend of the season, where it's the Diamondbacks and the Padres beating up each other, and the Dodgers winning, and that could change everything. I mean, this is going to be a very, very exciting September, and with that, they have to play at the top of their game, and it's hopefully is going to be something that helps them moving into the postseason, that they're playing at the best of their abilities moving into it. Now, I don't know how much that means, Marcus, because we've seen it both ways. In September, we have seen the Dodgers go. It was something like 2 and. What was it? It was like 2017. They won like 1 or 2 games in all of September, and then they went to the World Series. Yeah. And then they would just skate through all of September, and they lose in the first round. So history is not a predictor of the future in this case, right?
It is not. I will say that one thing about this team that has been fairly consistent, especially when healthy, is that they show up in the big series in the against the good teams. Obviously, they lost last night, but they were in it the whole way. They had opportunities the whole way. They just couldn't quite get it done. It has been the head scratchers against the teams that you just don't expect that have been really, really frustrating. So hopefully that trend continues. Hopefully we see the best of Walker Buehler tonight. Hopefully the offense comes to life a little bit more. One thing I did look up, Corbin Burns in his career against the Dodgers, not great. 2-2 with an ERA over 6. So, hopefully that trend continues again tonight.
Yeah, no, I would love to see that. Yeah, he is a great pitcher, and if they can hit him, That will make a very big difference. Give Walker Buehler a little bit of run support so that he can hopefully hold it. But we have seen Walker Buehler get a 4-0 lead and lose that lead immediately. The thing that I'm also kind of concerned about, concerned about, is Freddie Freeman. He did not play last night. He was not in the starting lineup. He was supposedly available before the game to pinch hit, but then by the end of it, Doc said, no, he wasn't available because he could have had a couple of places where he could have pinch hit, especially for Chris Taylor at the end of the game, which we can get into that if you want to in a little bit. But Freddie Freeman with that fractured index finger at the tip, it's going to be something that Doc said, everything's fine. Freddie's fine. We're just giving him a day off. Are you concerned? How concerned are you with Freddie Freeman?
Mildly. Obviously we've seen him play through it. We've seen him go out and hit the baseball and play good defense despite having that finger fracture. So obviously it's not a thing that is going to keep him out of the lineup long term. It sounds like it's a pain management thing. And as long as he can sort of handle whatever pain tolerance there is, then he can be on the field. It's always comforting to see him over there at first base and to see him hitting in that, third spot in the lineup. And so when you don't, it is a little bit concerning. But at this point, because we've seen him on the field, I'm not as, if it were another thing where Dave Roberts is like, he's fine, and then we don't see him for a week, then I start to freak out. But we got he's okay, he should be able to play, and we've actually seen him play. So I'm just sort of chalking last night up as, hey, we just wanted to get him out, get him some rest. Maybe it was a little sore, but I'm not freaked out yet.
So I think he was 3 for 23, something along those lines, with the fractured finger. So he was playing, but I mean, he played great defense. He absolutely did. And he had to throw the ball to second base one time in a pickle situation. But for the most part, that's where it would hurt him defensively, where he has to actually throw a baseball. But it's a little concerning because, he didn't play yesterday. He wasn't available to pinch it. Today will be interesting too. If he does not play in it, then we're starting to get into, will this be a longer stretch for him that he is not playing until he's on the IL, which, God, I really hope that doesn't happen. You feel okay. Every time Doc talks about injuries, I just immediately go to the opposite at this point.
Worst case scenario all the time.
Every single time. So hopefully everything is okay with Freddie, because that would be a big loss for this team.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I mean, we could talk a little bit about, what was it? I just lost. What you got?
I don't know. Other than that, look, Corbin Burns tonight versus Walker Buehler. Hoping for the best for Buehler. Hoping that the offense sort of comes to life. Curious to see if Freddie's in the lineup tonight, because that, I think even just his presence, even if he's not hitting, I just think his presence in the lineup. You put him at 3, you move Teoscar down to 4. It just sort of changes the entire makeup of the batting order.
No, it really doesn't. I remember what I was trying to get to. It just blanked for a second. It's like Chris Taylor in that bottom of the lineup, the very last. Shohei coming up, he hit it hard, hit it well. Just at somebody. Those things happen. What was your very first thought? And I want to see if it's the same as mine.
When I saw Chris Taylor, or when he hit it, I was like, oh, he got it. Off the bat, I was like, he got it. And I thought, okay, well, even if he didn't leave the park, maybe he finds a gap somewhere. Unfortunately, it didn't. Like I said, I can't really be upset. He got a good pitch. He put a good swing on it. It just didn't go where we wanted it to go.
See, mine was Jason Hayward would have hit a home run. That's immediately where my mind went to. It's like, look, we didn't want to get rid of CT3 and keep Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward is going to be an Astro. Jason Hayward would have hit a home run last night. No, he probably wouldn't have, but at the same time, that was my first thought.
What I'm hoping, though, is now that Hayward is with the Astros, maybe he comes up big in the series that the Dodgers need him to, that he's still sort of a double agent, that he hits against the Diamondbacks and against the Padres in big situations.
That would be fantastic. Let's do that. help the Dodgers out there. Wonderful. But it is time to get going here, Marcus. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to LAX. Thank you to producer Graham for helping us out on the Blue Review stream, with Parker out for the next couple days. But we will be back here 9:30, 9:55 tomorrow, just like we always are. And thanks a lot. Let's go Buehler. I'm hoping for a good start from him, because I talk so much crap that, hey, he has to have a good start. Reverse jinx it here. Be great. But yeah, watch it. We'll watch the game tonight, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys.